Good. Glad I got that out then. Hello, Midnight TCG members. This is Midnight Fox. We're coming to you with this week's Competitive Edge podcast. This week we're going to kind of freestyle it a little, talk about a couple subjects. This week we have myself, we have Genzaki recording, we have Eddie Phoenix who's going to chime in on the second part of the podcast. We have Genzo.
Pizza.
And we have King Dai Pai.
Hey.
So, tonight, with the Nationals coming up, we're going to start off our podcast on deck speculation. What do we think is going to be at Nationals? What do we think is going to win Nationals? Yes. What?
Go Control.
Yeah, goat control, sure. So, starting it off, I guess, big thing I'm pretty sure we're all going to be in agreement on is that some form of a Dragon Rulers deck is definitely going to take Nationals. I think we would all agree on that, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'd say that's the most obvious choice. Will it happen? I don't know. Last year's wind-up won, and that was not the call that everybody was making, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm pretty sure Dragon Rulers would be the safe bet to put your money on. Will it? We'll see.
I just go with Dragon Rulers as the top because wind-ups was good, but Dragon Rulers is insane. It really is.
Yeah.
It's probably. It's even better, in my opinion, than Teledad was, because you can actually misplay with that deck and still win. That's just my opinion and my experience.
That's making the statement that Dark or the Teledad deck wasn't as ridiculous.
Oh, no, Teledad was bad. I'm thinking Dragon Rulers is even more ridiculous than it was. But yeah, Teledad was bad. But I think this is just a smidge above it. The only thing I think that's going to limit the possibility of it topping is how expensive the extra deck is. Because that's really the meat and bones of the deck. And we've already talked about this. It's about $900 just for 6 of the extra deck cards. I think that'll be the only limitation of Dragon Rulers not taking it, because the power is in those rank 7 Xyz. It has other good Xyz monsters to go into, but the big power of it is having 3 copies of Big Eye and 3 copies of Dragossack. So, who knows? That's my call on it. And I know we were talking pre-podcast, a couple of others. We think of Mermels at Nationals, Genzo.
I mean, as I was saying before the podcast, excuse me, it's definitely going to be represented because people invested in the deck, and unlike certain players who can constantly move that kind of capital, and gaining the new deck, and they're moving out the old deck. Not every player who invests into a deck has the ability to, consecutively move along with what's happening in the game. So there will definitely be players there, and I'm not saying that the only players who will be playing Mermail at Nationals will be guys who are just stuck with it. Oh no, but I'm pretty sure that a lot of players, well, I don't know, it'll be represented, put it that way. It'll be there for either one of two reasons. A, the investment is stuck on a player, or B, there's a player who still appreciates what the deck offered them at a time before, which was recent ago, but they still appreciate that, they still enjoy it, and so they're going to stick with it. But it's fair to say that Dragon Ruler, Prophecy, and Evil Swarm will be the most represented decks there.
I would venture to say, too, that with the Dragon Rulers coming out, those players that couldn't finish off like the Abyss Megalos because of how expensive they were, we could see that possibly tossed in to supplement in the deck. So
Yeah, I'll be interested in seeing that because Megalos did get cheaper, once people realized, once we got the Dragon Ruler cards and the last piece for Prophecy, the prices of the Mermail deck started going down because I remember the initial thought was like Mermail wouldn't even be a deck, and I'm like, that's ridiculous. People still play Gladiator Beast at the start of formats because they were told or they heard or they think that's the right thing to do is just to fall back on Gladiator Beast because it might have a chance,
well, and we mentioned Prophecy, of course, with them getting their latest edition. Definitely, probably going to see that at Nationals. And
Well, you'll definitely see that.
probably we'd refer to it as what the rogue deck is. Evil Swarms. It's going to be the anti-meta. Represent it. What's going to be there to combat Dragon Rulers? I mean, what other rogue decks would you think to see there, though?
Okay, well, I don't know if Eddie's being funny in the chat because he's mentioning Mako Rabbit, Blackwing, Six Samurai, Exodia. But I think there's two good points that I can make here coming from those comments, just seeing that. I'm pretty sure you will see some form of chain burn. Maybe it'll side in the final countdown. Will it top? I don't have a clue, That's neither here nor there, That's matchup based, I suppose. And plus, Eradicator Epidemic Virus is going to be such a big card at Nationals, so, there's going to be that to factor in. But the Macro Rabbit, I'm not saying that it's going to top. I'm just going to say that I recently saw a video covering a Dino Rabbit deck, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the key is Jirak Gwaiba is a terrible card now. The game has just moved not just beyond it, but light years beyond that card. Jirak Gwaiba is a terrible card. And that was the adjustment that Dino Rabbit made there for a while. They started main decking the Jirak Gwaibas, and when they have the mirror match or an unfavorable matchup, they would side them out. Well, what this cat did is he took out that Jirak Gwaiba aspect of the deck. And so it has the heart, the 3 Kabazals, the 3 Sabosaurus, the 2 Tour Guide, the 2 Rescue Rabbit. But he did something that I thought was really neat and very interesting, and I would love to see the deck in play, is he replaced that with Malefic. So the main deck's Necro Valley and Royal Tribute, and it runs 3 Malefic Cyber End Dragon and 1 Malefic Stardust Dragon. And so in my opinion, Evoltsar Dolka with or you could even say Evoltsar Lagia with Necro Valley and Malefic Cyber End Dragon, that's a GG, right?
Pretty
Especially
good.
if you can if you could throw a Royal Tribute on top of that.
It's definitely a good way to empty hands, shut down abilities in the graveyard, so on and so forth. So yeah, I mean, if you can get out the combo, it's great.
That's a key.
That's the key.
No, I haven't got to test the deck, which I do want to test the deck against the big matches. But his side deck also implemented heavy stun. He side decks 3 Skill Drain. I don't want to lie because I can't remember, but I remember the 3 Skill Drains stood out to me. But there's 3 Macrocosmos as well, and some other stunny cards, and I thought it was just very interesting. So who knows? It's always up to the players at Nationals. How willing are the players to innovate, to dare, to be bold. I mean, that's something we never have a grasp on until the results are in.
You see Constellar or let's see. I'm going to name off 3, and you tell me if you think you're going to see them at Nationals, and if you do, between you and King Dai Pai, are we going to see them in top 32? I'm going to name off 3: Constellar, Infernity, and Watts.
You go ahead, King Dapa.
I see Infernity stopping for sure. just because they stop so many plays with that heavy back row.
What about Watts or Constellar?
I don't really see Watts topping. Constellars is a maybe for me. 'Cause they are a good control deck, but they can't swarm too good. I mean, they can swarm, but not as fast as the other decks.
What about you, Genzo? What do you think of those?
Okay,
as rogue
so my
decks?
opinion is Constellar, right player. I mean, that's what it's going to come down to because I play with some pretty talented players. Just in my opinion, I'm well aware of their abilities and their understanding of the game. And I've watched Constellar built well beat Dragons 2-1 and 2-0 already because Pleiades is a card and it's a great card. So they are a factor, albeit it may be small, but they are a factor. So will it top 32? I don't know. Is it going to be top 32 cut or top 64 cut? I don't know that. I guess it depends on the size in general. But I could see, like, if Constellar's top, for instance, that would not shock me whatsoever because Pleiades is one card, but it is a card, and that's kind of important to note in the matchups. Watts, it's a sleeper. I mean, that deck is so aggravating because I want it to be good because it's fun, and what's fun? You want it to be good, right? But if I had to gamble, I mean, I wouldn't count on them. It would surprise me if that deck topped. And the third deck was Infernity. Yeah. Infernity's a decent deck right now. It's not bad whatsoever. It doesn't shut decks out as much as people want to give it credit for, but it can, and that's key. I mean, that's what I think. The game has come down to now. It's not a question of good deck, bad deck. When you're talking about the best 3, 4, 5 decks, right? Because they all have explosiveness. They all have the ability to even control. They can grind. They have all the aspects of the game. So, like, if you take Dragon Rulers versus Prophecy, for instance, if the Dragon Ruler player sees Eradicator Epidemic Virus, that's pretty much game. But if they don't, there's that question right now in the game. So, yes, I could see Constellars and not be surprised. I would be superbly surprised if Watts topped. Infernity, I think I'm going to have to agree with KDP. I could at least see one topping.
The only reason I mention Watts is just because almost all of our decks, Mermails, the Evil Swarm, the Dragon Rulers, the Prophecy, all the 4 big decks run your high attack monsters, and most of your Watt decks run Messenger apiece. People have switched it up from going from Light Gravity, buying Level Limit Area B, because we know that those pretty much dead with ranks instead of levels now. So it does have that form of stall in there that stops the big dogs. That's the only reason I see possibly some form of a Watt deck maybe sliding in, if not top 32, at least being seen at Nationals just because.
Well, like I said, it can happen, but it would surprise me because if you think about what Watts need to do against the big decks, I mean, I don't know. Like, for the Prophecy matchup, like, Fate is such a good card. I remember we had a topic on the forum a while ago, and maybe it was someone's deck profile, and I was like, so, guy, you're not running Fate. And they were like, well, Fate's not a really good card. And I'm like, well, that's 2 + 2 = 5 to me because Fate, ever since it was released, was a good card at least, right? I mean, it just does so much. Maybe it wasn't, as good as it is now for the deck, but it's always been a good card. It's always been like a 1 or 2 of. And now, to me, and to most people who understand the game, it's a 3 of. So, like, Fate's a really good card in the matchup. And,
make sure
for the draft.
Mixing these up again, Fate is the one that has 3 options, or is it your draw list?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, the new one that released is Fate. I keep thinking of, I think it's not Power.
No, the new one that got released is Judgment.
Judgment.
Spellbook of Judgment, yeah.
Yeah.
and that's the
And that's
draw engine for it.
I think what's going to be exciting is, hopefully we have decent coverage this year because the experience I've had, I don't know about you guys, is the most interesting matchups to me are not the big two against each other. It's not Prophecy versus E-Drag because that becomes who gets that one card, right? Or that one play that puts them in the dominant position. Like the best matchups, and I don't even like the Prophecy deck, it's not a deck that appeals to me whatsoever, but I enjoy watching the matchup, like Prophecy versus Prophecy, because the guy who knows how to play the deck and he knows how to play Judgment wins. So that's a really intriguing matchup to me. The mirror matches, really. I mean, I'll go ahead and put it down to that. It's either, for me, Evil Swarm versus either two, and the most intriguing is obviously going to be Evil Swarm versus Dragon Ruler, and then the other two matchups I care to see are Prophecy versus Prophecy and Dragon Ruler versus Dragon Ruler.
Well, I will say that with all the different things that Konami has released as far as the different archetypes and all, and going back and even giving some support to older archetypes, it's been really nice and it has given a little bit of diversity. Of course, you still have your players that are stuck in the hive mind, but then again, you also have your players that are like, okay, wow, I've got all these options. Which one am I going to run? So, I mean, it has offered a little bit of diversity in the game. Is the game still going to cost you? Of course. Konami's in it to make money, but you got a choice of which way you want to go to try to make it into the top 32. You've got four choices. Really. You've got more, possibly, but realistically, you've got four that are probably going to guarantee you to get into that spot.
Another cool aspect of Nationals that could turn out to be quite entertaining for the people who aren't there is, I don't know, it just seems like the past year, like Yu-Gi-Oh! Has been just super aware of where it's at and, currently, like, what the game is. And so, like, there's been very little kind of like those secret texts, like that separate players, because their individuality, their own ingenuity carries them further than the just average player, which I'd say 80% of the players are just average. So like that could be a very interesting aspect to Nationals is like who has been keeping a secret to themselves and keeping it well. They don't find something that works really well and then need a pat on the back and some credit from somebody. Like who has that, one bit of mirror match, genius,
Well, and I'll tell you, something I used to do, and I really don't do it anymore, because the game has just gotten way quick, and some of the cards have gotten out of my reach, but I just come up with some pretty good decks, and I wouldn't post them on forums, I wouldn't post them, or tell the recipes to my friends or anything. I would kind of test them out on my own and take them so that it was something that came out of nowhere. And some of them actually turned out real good. Like when Reflect Bounder got Unlimited, I built a Reflection deck back in the days of Soul Control. And it was Reflect Bounders, Amazoness Swordswoman's, Chinthonian Soldiers, everything that deflected attacks back. Ran Dimension Walls, Magic Cylinder, all that good stuff in Burn. And nobody saw it coming. Nobody had played a deck like that, and I made it into top 16 with it. I got cut in the, I made it, I think I was ranked 14 with that deck. And we're talking about, Soul Control was, every format has its dog that runs it. So the top 8 were all Soul Control decks. But to make it with a rogue deck like that, I think, if there's that person that's sitting on a deck that nobody's thought of and pops up at that Nationals, it could be a rogue deck that just completely takes everyone by storm.
Oh, wow. We should be ashamed of ourselves, Ben.
What?
we're sitting here trying to think of like what are some decks, like that could be like a rogue, kind of like secret or whatever. And it's not so much a secret, but it's just like maybe it's just like the ugly duckling. It's there, it's alive, it's moving. Nobody really cares to talk about it much, but gadgets, right? I mean,
Template gadgets.
I love
if
gadgets.
you think about it, Shockmaster is a great card in the format right now,
And
hands down.
And we were talking about this card last week too, for the cost of 3 level 4s. And template gadgets love it. Number 69 Heraldry Crest. Great for going against Dragossack. Light psychic type monster, 2600 attack, so it can go toe to toe with Dragossack, and it negates everything the turn it's summoned. So for that one turn, you can negate all the other Xyz monsters, and then once per turn you get to steal an effect. So it's like Shockmaster, but it don't cost you unless you detach for that effect. So template gadgets love it. Yeah, that is true. It's the ugly duckling. And Ultimate Offering, it's still a card.
Well, I don't know if I would run Ultimate Offering in a gadget deck at this point, because then you're putting, I don't know. It's such a bad card, I think, right now. But yeah, the card you're talking about, the what's his name again?
Number 69, Heraldry Crest.
Yeah, like when we mentioned that, like, remember I was sitting there looking through cards and I'm like, hey, I have one of those, and so like I pulled it aside to actually test it and just have not got around to it because it seems very, very interesting. I won't lie. And gadgets, you can build that pretty easy, So I need to actually test that because, like I said, Shockmaster is a really great card, and any deck that can make it would be able to make the Heraldry guy. So, I mean, if it's actually legit,
I'd say Shockmaster is great for the majority of your decks. Template gadgets, though, eat up. Template gadgets and Watts eat up number 69, Heraldry Crest. Those are the.
Well, I'm not so sure about Watts.
The only thing it's good for is stealing your opponent's Xyz monsters, their effects in that deck. But I switched out One-Eyed Skill Gainer for it, so I still got a Shockmaster in there. But yeah, the deck that loves that card the most is Template Gadgets because you've got that mass summoning ability. That, and if you're running the right rabbit deck, you can get it out fairly easy. But the big
and the gadgets also have Kage Tokage. I hate saying that name. Ugh, so aggravating. They have him, and I'm not sure. I think it's safe to say you'll probably see one gadget deck, at least, in my opinion, doing work around the top tables. But I'm just curious to see, like, there was the one little tech, Kage Tokage goes into Feral Imp to tutor the side deck Reptilian Vasky to hand, because it not only eats up the 2 tokens that Dragossack creates, but it also pops him all in the same turn. So, I mean, there's that as well. Like, that gadgets have going for them.
Yeah.
So, now that we kind of speculated on that, and I mean, it was really good to kind of end that on Template Gadgets, because, yeah, it could be the little ugly duckling that comes from behind. Talk about Battle Pack 2 and talking about what's going to come out in it. Maybe some things we're excited about. For me, I'd say probably most excited, and it's only because of how ridiculously expensive the card got, is the 3 God cards. I could care less about Obelisk, I could care less about Raw, but playable Slifer as a Starfoil, I'm kind of looking forward to that. Although, to me, Starfoil Slifer is the ugly duckling till I get the jump version, as the collector in me. But I want to have all 3 because I really do like the cards, and I really look forward to that. There are so many good cards coming out in it. Plague Spreader, Necro Gardener. Like I said, all 3 of the God cards. We've got Alexandrite coming out in it. Gene Warp Warwolf.
Well, there are much better cards than that. Like, Card D is a pretty big card.
Yeah, Card D.
Breakthrough skill. Breakthrough skill's pretty big.
Breakthrough skill, and then Abyss Megalo. I mean... For those
I
mermaids.
mean, it's good that it's getting a reprint. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there are so many good cards. But
Bacon
Konami-
saver.
Bacon Saver.
Mega Saver!
Konami probably hit the nail on the head by showcasing it's your god cards. I mean,
Yeah.
people can pick up Raw easily now. People can pick up Obelisk, but Slifer has been the little
Lucy.
bastard child that no one can attain.
You know something I want to see them throw in, just because, I mean, we still are waiting on some releases for this pack. I would love to see them throw in a Black Ship Corn, since it hasn't seen very many releases either.
It's only seen one, and that was in Jump.
I know, and that's what I'm thinking. You know, we're already getting that Jump card. I'm hoping maybe we can get it from this.
Considering it's become a staple, I look for a reprint soon, either in a special edition pack or in something like this Battle
The
Pack.
tins.
Yeah, I could see the Tins getting it.
Yeah.
So, Eddie, what are you excited to see as far as what we have right now on Battle Pack 2?
I like seeing Tour Bus. I like seeing Plague Spreader. I can get both of those for my Blackwing deck. I'm seeing Breakthrough Skill being easily obtainable and not having to shell out tons of money. I want to get my hands on the Slifer because it's Slifer and it's going to be flippin' amazing. Getting to see Gene Warwolf and Alexandrite Dragon, being able to have more access to grabbing those is always a plus. The Forbiddens of the dress, somebody said Forbidden Dress and
Chalice.
Chalice and Lance and things like that. Those are always key staples to be able to get your hands on. And that's about it. Unless they haven't announced something that I haven't been able to know already about.
What about you, Genzo? What are you excited? We're looking forward to in the pack.
I guess the two biggest would be Card D, because I've liked that card ever since it was released. But the one constant that's been with me with that card is it's so out of time. Like, you put that card in any of the slow control format games or days, and what a great card that is, right? Like, now, it's basically have a way to defend yourself or take a chance activating it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, I've always think it's been highly overpriced for what it is. So I'm glad that it's getting a reprint, because it honestly needed to be a common rare $5 card in today's game anyway. Like I said, it probably warrants the price in an earlier point in our game. So that's a big one for me, just because there's a lot of gimmick decks that really thrive off of Card D. Watts are great with it, all the little fun decks, even Worms. So I'm pretty stoked about that. Shard of Greed is pretty big for me. It's another secret rare that's probably worth $2. But just because it's a secret rare, the secondary market deems it necessary to overprice it. So that's a neat card that again goes for gimmick and project decks. Breakthrough Skill,
As big
it's
as
good that it's getting a reprint, but we shouldn't be confused there. That card's not going to get much cheaper, if at all, because it is a card that is in demand. Because it's a card, for the best decks that shut off the anti-meta, stalwart, being Ophion. And that's just the least of what it does. I mean, it does a lot more than that. So, it's good that it's getting a reprint, but I wouldn't bank on it being cheap or much cheaper than it is now, just because secondary market really caters to demand. And that's where they get their money.
I'd say probably knock about $5 or $10 off of the Ultra/Ultimate rare, for each rarity when you stack it up. I'd say knock about maybe $5 or $10 because some people.
That's best case scenario mode.
Yeah, But I mean, for that, I mean, I don't mind because like if I can get my hands on it, I'm definitely gonna sell it because hey, that secondary market is always wanting it. And I mean, like right now, I'm sitting on three. I'm sitting on 3 Joel Lockbirds that I didn't know were gonna be $10 a piece. So I'm like, well,
Here's a stupid card to see reprinted that was a secret rare, and I bet you it finds its way into Battle Pack 2. D-Boys.
The D-Boys is awesome.
I see it finding its way into this Battle Pack. Just because. What about you, King Daipai? What do you see that kind of sticks out to you that you're excited to see?
Well, I'm really excited about Breakthrough Skill and Card E because they're so expensive for me right now because I'm a really big budget player. Being able to get them for a decent price cheaper is good, and then I'm happy about Forbidden Lance and Forbidden Chalice, so it'll be easier to get now. And then Doom Caliber Knight. I really like Doom Caliber Knight. It's a great card, I think. Cool side deck card for me.
I think this will be the fourth reprint though, because they released it originally. It was a YCS card. It was a prize card. Then it got released in gold. Then it got released in the Battle Pack 1, and now they're re-releasing it again in Battle Pack 2.
No, its first reprint was Turbo Pack.
Turbo.
It was prize card Turbo Pack Gold.
I should know that because I have 3 Turbo Pack Doom Calibers in my collection. That'll probably be the highest rarity I'll ever be able to attain.
Oh, I just noticed a really cool card that's on this list that I guess I've overlooked the whole time, which is Exodius, the Ultimate Forbidden Lord. Talk about another overpriced turd. Like, I'm glad that's getting a reprint in this.
Overpriced?
Because it's really fun. Yes, it's overpriced.
I don't see him...
Excuse me.
I don't see him used enough. That card is uberly broken if played correctly and in the right decks.
No, I mean it's a great card for like project gimmick decks, but those aren't the kind of decks that win things. So like his price does not match what he is. Like I agree, like he's a totally fun card. I'm just glad he's getting a reprint to kind of lower that price value down.
Anything else anybody's looking forward to? You know what I actually see with them doing? I see them doing another closed format. It would be nice if they went around, though, at more than one place and did a closed format with this. Especially if you look on there and see D-Mock.
Talking about, like, the Sealed Pack tournament?
Yes, Sealed Pack.
Are you talking about a Sealed Pack tournament?
Yeah.
They had 2. They had one in England and one... I think it was in England. It was overseas, and then they had one in California.
Yeah, I think it was San Francisco.
That was an interesting one, though, because half of the tournament was Sealed Pack, and then if you got top, then you played with your real deck. Like, it's either, in my opinion, like a really awesome idea, or it's a really terrible idea. I can't make heads or tails of it at the moment, but...
Probably...
Go ahead, Eddie.
I'm thinking that's probably that would be kind of a bad idea, because, I mean, like, if you get the right cards from the Sealed Pack, you can make it to the top. And then, you get in there with your actual deck. If your actual deck's crap, well, you're probably going to get raffle stomped.
Well, yeah, because, like, I do remember some people saying they opened 2 Gorses, and, like, Gors and Sealed Pack and Battle Pack 1 is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And a guy opened 2, I'm like, come on, dude, really? So yeah, you're right, you're very, luck of the draw plays a lot into it.
Yeah, and if being able to also potentially, like, I know we probably won't see it for Battle Pack 2 because, I mean, it's in a tin and it's available elsewhere, but it's like, let's see Rescue Rabbit get dropped into that thing. Just for the shiz and gigs.
So, anything else anybody wants to chime in on this before we wrap things up for the night?
Yeah, we can't let it go unsaid that Blockman's getting reprinted. I mean, come on.
Oh,
it's gonna bust the game.
Don't forget
Blockman. KDP, any thoughts, man?
Well, going back to the sealed pack quickly, On the flip side, it gives players that can't afford the expensive decks a chance to play with people with the same price cards and be able to at least top.
So you would like to see the idea of maybe them taking this Battle Pack 2 and doing something when they do the next ones and give everybody a chance to make it into the top. I really think it would be an interesting thing for Konami to do and would be a good business decision, because then you're not going to see all the same decks in the top 32 or whatever, and you're going to see other decks showcased, which is going to create more demand for other things. Because, I mean, really, the way it's set up right now, you got to spend money to win. But if they did that for at least one tournament, maybe even a regional, that would be an interesting concept, to go around to the regionals and give everybody a chance to make it in that, and then see the plethora of decks that you see that actually make it in the top 32, 16, so on and so forth. But then again, when they look at their players who spend the money, then do we want to drive them away because we're going to make this a sealed pack tournament? So it's kind of a 50-50, but I think it would be a good way to showcase other decks. Because
Well, I have a question for KDP on his point he made, which is, can you explain that one more time? Like the benefit you're talking about.
It gives the players that can't afford the really, really expensive card, like the extra deck for Dragon Rulers or Mermails, things like that. And then they may be really good players. They just can't afford those cards. Or on the Battle Pack, the sealed play, they're on similar playing levels of the cards they have, and it gives them a chance.
Now, are you saying that's a benefit to them doing half and half, or that's a benefit making the whole tournament sealed?
Half and half.
Yeah, see, like I can't agree with that. Like I would agree with that sentiment if you directed that idea towards completely sealed, because like whenever you sit down in a tournament, your goal should not be I want to do good enough. You should sit down, regardless of who you are. You know, you should be confident in your ability and want to win. And so like just hopping, I mean, what's the point of that? Like if you're a lesser player, or like say you're equally as good as X player, right? That does a lot of topping because he spends the money. So like once you get to the like play your own deck part, then you just lose out. So it's not fair to you in the end, because it's only fair that you get to an X spot and then the guy who has the money cards just beats you because he has the money cards and you don't. So like I would agree with that statement if it was like sealed all the way, because then it's like player skill level and decision making that wins the game. My opinion on it.
I don't know. I'm kind of, like I said, I'm kind of torn on it. I think it would be good because, like I said, it would give a chance to showcase other decks. Because, I mean, really, like we did the breakdown on one of the podcasts, and it was like, what, out of the top 16, like 7 Mermail, 1 Infernity, 1 this, 2 that.
Oh no, I remember what you're talking about. That was a top 32, and it was 15 Mermail decks. Yeah,
15 Mermail decks. Well, if they had at least maybe one regional or something where they just everybody went completely sealed pack the first half, and then that you might see some other things showcased, and it wouldn't be Mermail, wind up Mermail. You know what I'm saying.
well, I'll put it like I could not see a regional being done. Like if I went to a regional, if I showed up to a regional and they said, so we're going to do this sealed play, I would be like, give my money back and I'm going home. Because like you go to regionals for a purpose. You know, either you're there to have fun, which I guess it doesn't going there for fun. My fun is competing. So I'm going there to top. And so when they tell me that now my ability to do so is in the luck of what some dude in a goofy looking shirt hands me, I don't think so. Like that, no way. But like in the YCSs, when they make it a sealed pack, like I dig that. Like I can enjoy that, but I want it to be sealed all through. You know? for that reason of where like it's from start to finish. It's you get the luck of the draw, like Eddie said. Like it's very luck based on what you get, what packs you get. But whatever you get, your ability to actually build a deck comes into play. And then understanding what's in your deck. Just because you built the deck doesn't mean you understand the deck. Understanding that what you put in the deck and like the draw percentages, like you have to study before you go, obviously, just like the real game. But I just think it has to be one way or the other. Like it seemed odd to me. Like I said, I still can't make heads or tails of it because in a way it does seem like a kind of cool idea. But what if you're one of those guys who actually played really well and got to the top part, but you don't have a deck that can compete with the best two decks? Then I mean, you're just like, I paid my money to lose.
Well, and that's the other point I was making on that, was that the people who are just there to win, who would just say, "Oh no, don't want to play," you're going to run into those. But I just think it'd be a cool concept to try.
No, I can see that, but like I said, like most people's intent should be to win. I mean, like you don't build a deck, even if it's like a budget deck or a gimmick deck or a project deck going, hey man, I hope this thing gets the shit kicked out of it. You know what I mean? Like you want it to win, you want it to do what you built it to do. But yeah, I mean,
So, I think we all got our thoughts out there. So, just a few quick things for the people who listen in. There are obviously some changes to the board. If you haven't read updates to the layout, we have shrunk the board down just a little bit and some things have moved. So make sure to take a look in there if you want to see where a section you may have visited. You think, oh, it's gone. Well, maybe it's not. It's just moved into another area. So definitely check out that topic. We do have a few mod spots open, so if you're interested in modding, look at that application, fill it out, make sure you can fulfill the obligations. Feel free to send it to me. And make sure you're here on Thursdays for tournaments. We start seeing interest again on Tuesdays. There's a chance the WCS will come back, but we need you, the players, to be there on Tuesdays to play. So if you want to see it come back, be there on Tuesday. Let Genzo know, hey, we want to see the WCS back. But definitely Thursdays, be there. We have the Flash tournaments. S. Yu-Gi-Oh! Won our last one. He won an Inzektor Dragonfly mat. He's pictured on there, so you can go have a look at it. But I think that's about it. So we'll let Eddie dance us out this week.
Alright, we're doing a new thing this week. We're going out this way, and at Eddie Phoenix Dance Party beatbox style. And
what the